Already happening. We are meant to be starting about now. There are a few chairs empty that I can see dotted around the room. So if anybody who is standing at the margins... You keep turning me off. Thank you very much. That's better. Okay then, so good morning everybody. I am delighted to welcome you all to our workshop today here in the wonderful settings of the French Embassy. Thank you for making the journey all the way from the Altice Arena for anybody who was up at the UN Ocean Conference earlier on. I should just double check the title because these things are always longer than you expect. So welcome to the ocean as a global common, connecting generations of storytellers, stakeholders through storytelling. I am Dr. Jack Laverick of the University of Strathclyde up in Glasgow, and I'm one of the founding members of the Youth4Ocean Forum, which is an EU initiative getting young people involved in ocean literacy activities. And as perhaps the most common thing that members of the Youth4Ocean Forum get invited to is to hear about ways that we can improve ocean literacy more generally. And what I often experience is this is characterized as a conversation in schools where we try to get people who come in of knowledge and then transmit what they know about the ocean into a younger generation. But amongst the people in the Youth4Ocean Forum, we have realized that there is a place for that transgenerational exchange of information to go further. So when I was first able to be lucky enough to dive on a coral reef, I got there about 10 years ago now, and was a little bit disappointed at what I saw. Things weren't quite as beautiful as I expected them to be. There was seaweed, there was damaged coral, and you could see some of the impacts of local coastal development. Some of the other people who were also there as young people on the trip didn't necessarily know that this was not what they were expecting to see. And they loved the trip, they thought this was fantastic, whereas I was missing the fact that we had no sharks and there were very few fish. When I came back home, I then had to have this slightly awkward conversation with my parents saying, yes, it's wonderful that I got to go and see a coral reef, but it was also a little bit sad. And so there was then this transmission of knowledge from a younger person back to people in the older generations. Similarly, on another trip a few months later, I met a couple who had been to some reefs on their honeymoon about 30 or 40 years ago, and now that they had retired, they had come back to the same reefs as a bit of a marking of the occasion. And they were also then able to say how things didn't look quite as they remembered them a few decades ago. So this is another opportunity where the information passed not necessarily from a teacher in a classroom, but from someone with an older perspective on how things have changed in time, and were able to then educate me and other people in the location about how things had shifted under their lifetime. So I think getting this exchange transgenerationally of ocean literacy is a very important thing to help us prevent shifting baselines from changing the way that we perceive the ocean at the moment. And storytelling is going to be a very powerful way in which we can make this happen. If we end up continuing to rely on lots of data and shiny PowerPoints and things like this, I mean, it helps in technical meetings for sure, but there is very little that you can do to beat that human-to-human interaction of sitting in front of somebody, looking them in the eye, and telling them a story from your personal experience. It has an exceptional sincerity that really does grab the attention. So we are very lucky to be able to have a number of exciting speakers to talk to us today. We'll also have some interactive elements where I'll hope all of you will be able to share some of your stories, because I'm sure you're all very interesting people too. And we're going to unite all of these stories under what we're calling the federating concept of the ocean as a global common. And so on that note, I'm going to pass over to Olivia just to say a few words about this, because she's the person that's connected us all up for this particular part, and then we'll get going with some talks.
Hello everyone, my name is Olivia Garcia. I'm a student in marine science and a diver, and I'm one of the founding members of Youth4Ocean, which is co-organizing this event. And I just wanted to say a few words to thank you all very much for being here today. We are very, very pleased, especially right now, in an era, a world where our modern way of living is teaching us that the ocean is a commodity for us to use for this same way of living that is driving us towards a mass extinction of the beautiful biodiversity of our beautiful blue planet. It is of the utmost importance to have this kind of events where we can enhance ocean knowledge and ocean literacy together and switch our perspective. And this is why I'm absolutely delighted and proud to introduce you to our delighted panelists and also to the concept of the ocean as a global common. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. So I shall now have to refer to my cheat sheet of the various speakers, the little bits of information they've given me for their introduction when they have appeared. So first up, I would like to welcome to the floor Catherine Chabaud. And she's listed as a French journalist, sailor, member of European Parliament, and founder of the Ocean as a Common initiative. So the floor is yours, Catherine. I'll just swap you out as you come in, it's fine.
So I will take it's a transgenerational event. So there are some young and less young people in the room. Okay, good morning to everyone, and I'm very pleased to be here, and many thanks, Olivia, because in Brest, when we were in Brest together in February, we launched a call for the ocean as a global common, and you called me after and you said we have to do something together, and we are a lot of different stakeholders in the room, and many thanks to the World Ocean Network, Guillaume. And Ivona, I don't know where you are, Ivona, yeah, and many thanks for the organization and thanks to the French embassy. Sorry, because my storytelling, because I'm a little bit older than you, will be a little bit longer probably, and I wrote it because my English is not so fluent, so I'm going to tell you my story with the ocean and the adventure I am living to have the ocean recognized as a global common. At the beginning, we were saying a common good of humanity. Now we keep this appellation, the name global common. At the UN level, an adventure just as committed as my 2 solo around the world trips. As a child, I had the chance to practice scuba diving with my father, and I understood very early that the sea was alive. I know it today. My passion for the sea was born in the kelp forest of Brittany's seawaters. I also understood that it was fragile. At the time, we were afraid of oil spills and fuel barrels on the beaches due to the deballasting. However, plastic pollution was already there, present in the ocean, but we only saw it in the coasts. I will probably be one of the first to observe it in the open sea in 1991, 31 years ago, during my first solo crossing. I will observe waste in the middle of nowhere, very far from the coast. And this observation upsets me. I ask myself, no, where are the awful polluters? But where did we get there collectively? Beyond my anger, I felt a very strong sense of individual responsibility, my own responsibility, and collective one. And it is this feeling that I still have today, and it is this feeling that the notion of the global common inspires me, in me. If I feel powerless, the experience of my 2 round-the-world races alone will give me the keys to act. The Vendée Globe is an extreme experience, is without stop. Because you are alone, and because you have no choice, you always find solutions to the problems you encounter. And it gave me lessons for life on the human being's capacity to adapt, on his resilience, on the power to the collective too, because you prepare the boat not alone, but with a team. I also learned that we do not fight against the sea, but we must deal with it. Faced with the consequences of climate change, we must keep in mind that the sea will always be stronger. In 2002, I decided to stop competing. I would then wanted to return to my journalistic hat. And at a time when we only talk about problems, I wanted to highlight sustainable solutions that already exist or that need to be supported, accelerated, with the ambition that they inspire. I shoot documentaries, radio program, etc. I am also involved in a project of eco-innovative sailing boats, the sailing boat of the future, which will never see the light of day because it was probably too early. But we built probably the first compostable dinghy and probably inspired a lot of projects. At the same time, I took part in a collective consultation launched by Friends on the Ocean, probably some of us here. It was the Grenelle de la Mer was there as well. And we made the observation that the sea is the future of the Earth, but that there is no future with the sea if we don't protect it and if we don't manage it sustainably. Then I went to the Economic, Social and Environmental Council in France, where I decided to organize an international conference on the governance of the ICs in 2013. And there we launched the Paris Appeal for the ICs, in which we asked for the opening of negotiations, the one we know about under BBNG negotiations, and we hope it will be concluded this year in August. And we spoke in the appeal about the ocean as a common good of humanity. We were speaking en français, c'est océan bien commun de l'humanité. A friend of mine suggested to put this sentence. A few months later, we created, with some people in the room, the Ocean and Climate Platform to make the ocean's voice heard at COP21. I passed you my 2 years as delegate for the sea and littoral, and in January 2018, I decided to go back at sea across the Atlantic because I miss the sea. Offshore, I am wondering how to accelerate awareness and action. And to do this, each person, each citizen in the world must feel their own responsibility and collective responsibility. To do this, we must understand that the ocean is one, that it is an asset for humanity, that it is our common good, that is this common good is in danger. Upon returning from my transatlantic crossing, I gathered the experts with whom we have been working on the subject since conference. And on June the 8th of June 2018, we launched the appeal for le bien commun de l'humanité. Là, je le dis en français. Nous avons lancé l'appel pour l'océan bien commun de l'humanité. For 4 years, with oceanographer Françoise Gaille and with the president of the French Institute of the Sea, Eudes Riblier, we have been working to explore, consolidate this notion and promote it. We have organized conferences and seminars with anthropologists, sociologists, economists, philosophers, etc. In reality, we are in the process of inventing a concept because we are not talking about the common good for fish, for genetic resources, etc., but it is the ocean as a whole with regards to the benefits it renders to all humanity. That is our common good, our global common. It is also in the name of this global common that we must turn off the tap of plastics and all pollutions. It's because it's in the name of this global common that we are all concerned by the future of Arctic and Antarctic, that knowledge must be shared, and that we must all work towards its regeneration. Everyone must do their part. To give substance to the global common, we have launched a pilot project in the Morbihan region. The objective of the Blueprint project is to mobilize the population around the aquasphere, the entire system of terrestrial and marine waters, and to encourage each person to take action for its regeneration. And it works. And I invite you to discuss with Céline, and with Leor, you are here, Leor, who lead this project, and more broadly to exchange with Lorenzo, who lead the citizen mobilization's axis of ocean as common, while I continue my commitments in the European Parliament. And I say hello to my ocean twin, Gesine Meister from Germany. She is a former MEP, and she did a huge work, fantastic work in the Parliament before me. They are our young leaders. So Ocean as Common is already a transgenerational community. And for 4 years after its launch, the notion of the global common has never been so much in the spotlight as this event proves. Similar concepts are also emerging around the world. So some are even thinking of making the ocean a legal entity, which is already the case for rivers. So as a conclusion, I don't know where all this is leading me, but I know that I need to go back to the sea alone. I miss it. In November, I will start a solo race again on the Atlantic. But I won't be alone because there will be even more of us carrying this notion. Nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come, said Victor Hugo, and the time of the ocean as global common has come. Thank you.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you, Catherine. I didn't mean to expose you up on the stage on your own. It's just that we don't have enough chairs for all the speakers, so we'd have to then make choices. So the next person to be up here all on their own, I'd like to welcome up Sarah Marie Thomas. She is from the Eurocean Network, Surfrider Foundation in Europe.
It's a bit intimidating to go after such a great speech. It's a great pleasure to be here, and I would like to start with a little anecdote. So I was lucky enough to go surfing last week. Many of you might be familiar with the spot. I went surfing in Costa da Caparica. And when I was surfing in the water and I was sitting there waiting for the next set of waves to roll in, I noticed two really beautiful things. And the first thing that I noticed is that I was surrounded by such a diverse group of people. Not just in terms of nationality, but also in terms of age. And I usually don't notice this, but when I go surfing, I'm surrounded by people that are sometimes half my age and sometimes 3 times my age. And I think the thought that the ocean is such a great source of joy for so many of us, and also for us surfers, such a great part of our identity, is a really powerful thought. But it also makes the critical state of our ocean a really personal concern to all of us. And the second beautiful thing that I noticed relates to this concern that we all have about the state of the ocean. Because when I was surfing last week, and it may sound very cliche, but it actually happened, there was a little boy of maybe 12 years old, and he noticed a plastic bottle floating on the water surface. And then he stopped whatever he was doing, he stopped the paddling, the surfing, and he paddled towards the plastic bottle. He picked it up, and he paddled all the way back to the shore, threw it in the bin, and came back to the lineup, which is where all the surfers are sitting to wait for the waves. And I think everyone in the water noticed, and he got a lot of approving nods and thumbs ups because everyone was proud that such a young person was doing this. And I'm not saying that you have to be a surfer to understand how important it is to protect the ocean. But I think you can all relate in one way or another how much the ocean and coastal ecosystems are such a source of happiness, joy, relaxation, calm to all of us, no matter if you're young or old, and how we all have to do our part to keep it clean and healthy. My name is Sarah, I'm 24 years old. I'm originally from Germany, and now I'm studying law and economics of the sea at Nova School of Law here in Lisbon, to be closer to the ocean. It was a very conscious decision. And I have this passion for surfing and love for the ocean, so I was seeking more ways to become involved more as an activist rather than just a student and learning about it in a university and in an academic context. I think it's more important to actually become active and be an advocate for the ocean. So I joined the Eurocean Youth Network as a youth ambassador. It was founded by Surfrider Foundation. Surfrider Foundation is an environmental NGO that was founded by surfers in 1990. And it focuses on topics like marine litter, coastal development, and water quality. And in the Eurocean network, we are over 100 people, young people from 25 different European countries. 2 of them are with me today. There's Jay and Jesus as well that are supporting me here. And we are all united by our interest in the maritime world and the will to protect the ocean better. And so far, we have participated in many inspiring talks and webinars. And based on the input that we got from so many experts there, we created 12 recommendations for the ocean, most of them related to blue careers and shipping. And so some of my fellow youth ambassadors, they already went to many ocean events, or for example, the One Ocean Summit or the European Maritime Day, and they were pitching our recommendations to policymakers. And now I have the honor to be here at the UN Ocean Conference and to present our 12th recommendation, which is to strengthen the link between ocean science and policymakers by significantly increasing the funding of interdisciplinary research. Because just as we need all generations to come together in the fight to protect the ocean, we also need people from different sectors and different fields to come together and work together on solutions. So with our 12th recommendation, we strongly support the creation of an international ocean panel for sustainability. And we also demand a significant increase in research funding for interdisciplinary research and also especially for early career scientists. Because if we strengthen the bridge between policy and science, future laws and policies will hopefully become even stronger in protecting the ocean, guaranteeing that we as individuals can form personal and enriching connections for generations to come. Thank you very much.
Great, that was lovely to hear. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is from affiliated with the European Marine Board, ambassador and with GMR Helmholtz Center for Ocean Research at Kiel. So I'd like to welcome up Rebecca Zitoun. Okay. You have the floor.
Hi everyone, thank you for having me. So today, after these 2 talks, my talk will be a bit different. I'm an ECOP, an early career ocean professional, and I'm really happy and glad that I'm an ECOP nowadays because ECOPs we are provided with a lot of opportunities because the ocean science community and even beyond have realized that involving ECOPs from the get-go is really valuable. So bringing them to the table is really valuable. So we're having a lot of opportunities at the moment. So as you can see, I'm a panelist for a really great event. We are also, most of ECOPs, I know we are involved in committees, we are ambassadors, we are planning workshops together and events, and we're learning a lot of valuable skills, which is awesome. And we're also meeting a lot of great people, we're creating networks, and that is really important for us because we want to become good scientists that can do something great for the future. But also because we have to also see, even though it is awesome and I love my job and everything that I'm doing, it is also a very difficult time for ECOPs. Because we have to realize that everything we are doing, or more often than not, what we are doing is extracurricular. So I'm a postdoc at Guillaume, I'm having a 40-hour week, and on top of that, in my spare time and on the weekends, I'm sitting there and doing all this great work I'm really passionate about, and helping with committees, having workshops, giving talks, and I love it, and I don't want to whinge about it, but I just want to make sure that you guys realize that ECOPs, even though they have a lot of opportunity, that they also struggle a lot. We have to realize that as an ECOP that we work a lot, and that we really have to think, don't make the same mistakes I did, really care about your well-being for all the ECOPs that are just starting. Work-life balance is really important. Like I said, I don't want to whinge about it. I just want to make sure that you guys realize the great opportunities we are having, especially here at the UN conference. We are surrounded by amazing people. ECOPs, you're not alone. You have a whole community of great ocean scientists, of policymakers, of NGOs, of startups who are here to help you, to guide you to this really complex and really difficult time. So please rely on all these people. Just ask them, they're there to help and they want to help you, which is really awesome. So for example, as an ECOP, I do a lot of social media, I do a lot of blogging, I'm giving talks, but all these things I'm doing are actually full-time jobs of other people. Like in my institute at Guillaume, we have social media managers, we have transfer knowledge coordinators. So rely on them to help you so you don't have to work that much and so you have some kind of work-life balance, which is really important. And what I also wanted to say is, that you're not alone, you have to rely on these people. For example, I just give you a quick example. What I mean by that is I was asked by my boss to do an infographic. Have never done graphic design. So I was sitting there for 3 days trying to figure out this infographic to make it really nice. Probably had something to do with my ego because I wanted to do it by myself. But after 3 days, I was like, oh, I really need help from a graphic designer. And then I asked the graphic designer at Guillaume to help me. And he not only did it in like 2 hours, what I didn't achieve in 3 days, he also made it 100 times better. So please be aware that there are people out there whose full-time job it is to support ECOPs. And it's not a shame to ask for help because the later generation, the mid and late career scientists, it's their job to help us. So please ask for help. And yeah, I had to be short, so that's what was my short intervention.
Great. Thank you very much for that, Rebecca. On a personal note, as a postdoc myself, I hear a lot of what you're saying. I'm just going, yes, 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 yes. So that was nice to hear that being said. Okay, so next up we have a young ocean leader and representative for France and Europe of the Sustainable Ocean Alliance. So I would like to welcome up Anne-Sophie Roux.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for having me here. So my name is Anne-Sophie. As you said, I'm a social entrepreneur and an ocean activist. In 2018, I founded Tenaka, which is a social business that restores marine habitats. And a year after, I became the representative in France of the Sustainable Ocean Alliance, which is a worldwide network of young people that are committed to find solutions for the ocean. So we are present in 165 countries, if I'm not mistaken. And the ambition of the SOA is really to empower young people to develop their idea for the ocean. So we have one program which is the Young Ocean Leadership Program, and the other one which is the Startup Acceleration. And so I'm quite proud to say that I'm a pure product of SOA in which way that I've been both a young ocean leader and an ocean entrepreneur that have benefited from the Ocean Solutions Accelerator. And I'm not a marine biologist, I'm not an oceanographer. I come from the world of social sciences. And I've been really diving into the world of the ocean by my researches on climate adaptation, and especially the adaptation of coastal communities to the climate crisis. And that's why I very much believe in the regeneration of the ocean, and also the application of the use. For me, it's an amazing tool to increase the resilience of our natural ecosystems, of our local communities, local economies. And so, yeah, we restore coral reefs, we restore mangroves habitats, which provide not only a solution to mitigate the climate crisis, but also to strengthen the adaptation of coastal communities. So whether it's through jobs creation, coastal protection, livelihoods, food security, etc. So regenerating the ocean is basically providing a wide array of impacts. And yeah, for the Sustainable Ocean Alliance, it really stems from the idea of Daniela Fernandez, which is the founder and CEO. She founded the SOA, the Sustainable Ocean Alliance, when she was a student, and she was attending a very first UN conference. And she realized that not many youths were there at the UN conference. And that's what she wanted to change, actually, by creating the Sustainable Ocean Alliance. And now she wants to bring youth to the table of heads of states and CEOs and ministers, and because ultimately the youth is the one that is going to be impacted by the consequences of global warming. And that is already impacted, matter of fact. And so, for example, a few days before the UN Ocean Conference just started, so last weekend, we hosted the Youth4Ocean Innovation Forum, which gathered more than 150 youth from all over the world to tackle some big ocean challenges. So waste, overfishing, marine pollution, ocean energy, and so many more. And so the winning teams of the pitch competition between all the different teams got to pitch their idea on the main stage of the UN Ocean Conference. And that is so empowering as a youth when you are 20, 25 years old, because you may think that your voice is not very much heard in these very big, especially in these very big gatherings that are the UN Ocean Conference, for example. And so, yeah, I'm very, very grateful to be part of such an amazing community. And if you don't know it, please check out the website. You can also join the different communities from everywhere you are in the world. And yeah, there is also a very interesting program, which is the Youth Policy Advisory Council. So it's basically youth that are drafting ocean policies bills and drafting future laws of the ocean. And we have a very nice example of that translated concretely into the world. Is from SOA Peru. That has an amazing team of youth policy advisory, and they drafted a bill on deep seabed mining. They've been drafting it for the past year, and it was just passed to the Peruvian Congress a few days ago. So that's just an example of the amazing outcomes that stems from the youth when it's empowered and when it's part of a bigger network. Because obviously we are all here working about the ocean, and when you're a young person working on these solutions, it might feel a bit overwhelming because you're working on the subject that is way bigger than you. And so, yeah, being part of these amazing communities and Youth4Oceans and so many, and Surfrider and the SOA and Ocean as Common as well, is such an important way to act for the ocean. So thank you so much for having me and for all the work that the youth here, and the not youth as well, are doing for our blue planet. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Anne-Sophie. Next, I would like to welcome up Tymon Zielinski, who's a professor at the Institute of Oceanology at the Polish Academy of Sciences, who I know does lots of work of school. Okay, up we go. Can you hear me without the microphone? I think it's better with the microphone. With the microphone,
No problem. Oh, okay, so I have to admit that I didn't prepare any stories, hoping that I'll get inspired, and I did. So we can already call the meeting a success, I would say. I don't have a story, but I have an appeal, since we're talking about the transgenerational meeting, which is fantastic. And I do believe that when we talk about climate change, when we talk about the ocean, we need to get all stakeholders of the general community and society involved, no matter what age. But my appeal is that you, as young people, I'm afraid that on the graph of the age versus number of people here, I would be to the right on the x-axis. So I will take this opportunity to talk to the younger generations. You bear a lot of knowledge. You have fantastic sources of information and knowledge through the internet, through your own experience, and you have to get involved in the dialogue with the older generations rather than being at the sort of a traditional position of listening to what the older ones have to say because of the age privilege and the generations behind So there's a lot of fantastic knowledge that we bear because of our age, because we lived longer, we collected information, data, observations. But very often, older people love to also talk about myths or passing different types of myths, traditional knowledge that has not much to do with real knowledge. And one of the examples I always have, when in Poland we have very common expression that your body knows best what it needs. And then I go back to my student times and think about all my colleagues smoking. I never smoked, and the alcohol that we drank. And I think, like, did our bodies really need it? And it's still very common expression, like, oh, your body knows best what you need, at different occasions. So there is very good knowledge. We are sources of fantastic information, but very often we also talk on different level. And if you get involved in the dialogue with your knowledge, you already know that smoking is not fantastic, right? So it is an opportunity to discuss with the older generations, and through the dialogue, it's a great moment that you can actually get this information, this knowledge from us, and use it with your own resources that you have now and create the best of the best. So I fully support the transgenerational, but you must be an active part in it, not just the listeners. And one more thing that I would like to say here is that you also have to start changing language, not only these transgenerational habits of, like, it's appropriate to listen, it's appropriate, in my opinion, it's appropriate to discuss, but also change a little bit of the language, or even a lot. We're changing our languages in many other life aspects these days, which is fantastic, but also talking about the ocean and climate, we have to do it this way too. So if I ask you, like, who believes in climate change, would you raise your hands? That's exactly the wrong answer, because I asked the wrong question. We already tested it before. We know that climate is changing. We don't believe in it. You can believe in many superficial things. We know that climate is changing because we use knowledge, scientific knowledge. So again, if you start using proper language, then you pretty much cut this part of the discussion. Doesn't make sense. Oh, well, my great-grandfather thought different, so nothing changed over time. No, we know that knowledge, scientific knowledge, is as such. So no beliefs, knowledge. And that's my appeal. Thank you very much.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much, Tymon, for those thoughts. I would now like to invite up two speakers who are going to be sharing the floor, and they're both representatives of the One Ocean Summit University. So can you please have Mariana Schiavetti and Elyne Dugeny? Unfortunately, you don't get twice as long, so...
We know, don't worry. So, I'm Mariana Schiavetti. I'm a Brazilian PhD in France, in University of Brest. My colleague will present herself.
Yeah, so I'm Elyne Dugeny. I'm an early career researcher working at the Mediterranean Institute of Oceanography, the MIO, in the south of France, and I'm also giving lectures at the University of Toulon.
So, I'm in law. I do study environmental law, and I always wonder, what does it mean common good? Are we talking about sharing benefits? Are we talking about sharing responsibility? Who is the common? Who you are speaking to? I always wonder, are we talking about us? We do believe in the same things. It's incredible. It's so good to hear that everyone shares our concerns and our interests. But we are talking about common. We are talking about other people's. So we wonder, as law, what does it mean? How put in a framework? I wonder, as a Brazilian, we know things can change really fast, believe me, I've been there. But as a young researcher, I wonder how we can put this common to all people. How can we improve the communication of what we are doing? All the knowledge, we are just speaking, we know things, but how can we communicate to social society? How can we translate our concerns and show that it does concern them too? We are talking about a common globe, a common ocean. Really, it's a common. But how can we do? How can the young researchers do it? And then we think I have a few solutions I'd like to present to you.
Yeah, because it is crucial, we all agree with that, to share science. And also for early career researcher, this is crucial for us. We have a lot to say. Actually, we are contributing a lot to the actual research activities. So I think that each time the opportunity to raise our voices is given to us, we have to seize it. Personally, this is the reason why I chose to become an All-Atlantic Ocean Youth Ambassador in the All-Atlantic Ocean Research Alliance. This is political will to guarantee the collaboration in research between Atlantic countries, and our mission as youth ambassador is to involve in the ocean protection, to raise the awareness of the actual challenges. So we are involving in conferences, scientific communications, and a lot of events for sharing science. And I also joined the One Ocean University. So this is an initiative launched by the University of Occidental Brittany, and it was during the One Ocean Summit in Brest, happening last February. And the initiative was to gather early career researchers around the world. This is an international initiative. And we were also actually working on very different field of expertise. We are lawyers, we are economists, we are ecologists, biologists, and also mathematicians, modelizers. We cover a large spectrum of expertise. And so we worked all together across this transdisciplinary approach, and we established a call for action that you can find flashing this QR code. There is a poster here, some other over there, yeah. And so we worked all together, and we made a list of recommendations for decision makers to bring recommendations based on our expertise to promote the ocean protection and the research effort. The goal, the aim, the main goal of this initiative, launched during the One Ocean Summit, was to bring this call for action to the United Nations Ocean Conference. And we're here, so I think that more than storytelling, we can think that it's a success story too.
I would like to just say a last word, because we have to conclude. So I'd like to thank you, the Youth of the Ocean, for let us not just telling our story, but be able to write with you. So thank you also to Madame for receiving us. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we are now on to our final speaker before we get the fun of the interactive elements of the workshop. So you all have 4 or 5 minutes to brace yourselves. I would like to now invite Manager of the Oceans Alive Initiative and Marine Protected Areas at Isimangaliso, South Africa. Yes, thank you. Nozi Mbongwa. Thank you very much.
Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay, perfect. Hello, everyone. My name is Nozi Mbongwa, and I manage the Oceans Alive project, implemented in South Africa in an MPA called Isimangaliso. So just briefly, before I get onto my story, my talk is called Oceans Alive, but growing up, I had no idea that the ocean was alive until the age of 18. So I grew up in a small village in South Africa. My parents were farmers, uneducated. They just knew how to milk a cow, how to head goats, feed chickens. So that's all I knew, and I was in a very safe space there. I had no connection to the ocean. And they used to tell me stories that they learned from their grandfathers. It was passed on from generation to generation. So all I knew was that the ocean was a very scary place. It was dark, it had big sharks that just ate people. Sometimes it would be calm, that's when it's low tide, but sometimes it's like very aggressive, so you don't want to go swimming there when it's like high tide. But also they told me something really funny at the same time, that the ocean cleans itself. So people used to just throw waste there and it will clean itself, but that's only because out of sight, out of mind. So until I was 18, someone took me to the rocky shores and I saw these little things attached to the rocks. I was like, what the hell is this? And then they were like, it's a sea urchin, it actually lives, it does this and that, this is how it feeds. And then I learned about sea anemones and all these little creatures were on the rocks, and I was so fascinated. Next thing, I had a degree in marine biology. I had an honors in marine biology. I had a master's in marine biology, and then... So that's how my story started, and I wanted to inspire other people as well who grew up the same way as I did. So this is Isimangaliso MPA. It's full of diversity, it's very rich. We have a lot of people coming to visit Isimangaliso. It's the home of the living fossil, coelacanths. We have loggerheads, we have leatherback turtles. We have some of the most amazing wetland systems there. So all of you should come to South Africa and visit Isimangaliso Wetland Park. However, as much as it's beautiful, all the coastal communities that live inside the park are still battling with socioeconomic challenges, high unemployment rate. They literally have no schools in some of the educations. There's social inequality, and some of them also have limited access to public services. So when we introduced this project in 2019, prior to the implementation, we realized there was a lot of conflict between the park authorities, the management, and also the community. The communities felt like they were not part of the decisions made about the MPA. They were uneducated about, they always heard managers speaking about MPAs, but they had no idea what it was. And they were just a few kilometers away from the ocean, but it was there. They acknowledged that it was there, but it was a very dark space. So they had the same perspective or perceptions as I did as well growing up. So I got excited and I'm going to educate these people. We had all sorts of discussions with our funders, and then we actually found these old deserted spaces in the communities. So this is one of them. You can click and show me the next one. This is another old school that was supposed to be a school, but it never worked out because of limited resources. So we found these areas and we actually turned them into community resource hubs. I actually like to call them ocean homes. So these hubs are basically a place of hope. This is where we bring people to these centers and we teach them about the ocean. They live just a few kilometers away from them. So we brought the ocean to them so they can actually learn about the loggerheads, the coelacanth only found in their communities, and learn about all sorts of things. So it's a multi-purpose space for training, skills development, This is where the youth also engage about all sorts of things, and we want to empower them with all the skills and uplift them. So they actually know that they play a role in this MPA, and they have a certain responsibility. And the reason why we actually built this, when we built this hub, we could have gotten any local builder or contractor to come build these hubs for us, but we actually employed community members to build this hub, so they feel like they're part of this massive movement of building the ocean hubs. So before we painted, you'll see that there's a lot of murals on the walls. We had a graphic designer or artist, that guy, he does a lot of things. So he met with the community members and he listened to their stories, because he just wanted to find out what kind of information do they have about the ocean. And he captured all of those things on the walls. So when you go to these centers, you can actually learn so much about the community, the indigenous knowledge, the activities, the types of species that are found there. And they are so proud because they built these hubs. We took people with zero skills in construction and we trained them. At the end, they got accredited certificates. So they got something out of it, and they were also paid a little stipend. So we are really proud of what the hubs look like now. So during the holidays, I got a message yesterday. We have kids coming to the hubs. They watch documentaries about the ocean. They play games about sharks, etc. Tomorrow, like next week, I have traditional leaders who wanted nothing to do with our project, or the park authorities. They're actually going to visit a shark center next week, which is just like amazing for us, because over time we've seen this transformation from community members who didn't want to engage with us or didn't want to engage with the authority at all, but starting want to learn about the ocean and starting to understand that some of the stories that they knew and the perceptions that they knew were actually not correct. So now we're teaching them, they come to the hubs, we do these activations every single week where we educate them about the ocean, but we're also trying to tackle some of the socio-economic challenges that they are facing, because it's all about empowering them. So we all have different ways of connecting to the ocean. Some of us, when we see the ocean, you see this very beautiful, serene place, but some of these guys, when they saw it, they just saw something that was there, it was a part of their environment, but they were not really connected to them. But we empowered them, we gave them the skills, we gave them the knowledge, we gave them the education, and now they are part of this system, and they fully understand now that the ocean is alive. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Nozi. That was lovely. That was lovely to hear about. And indeed, thank you to the all 8 of our speakers for getting the ball rolling, sharing their storytelling. You may now all be excited. No, it is now going to be your turn to try and share stories. I'm sure you've all got interesting things you can tell each other, buried away in the back of your mind, even if not ready for the conference. For anybody who does not have a story that springs straight to the front, we have got a couple of prompts to try and get you thinking about things that you might be able to share. Now, when we've done this in the past, the room has been a bit bigger. We normally tell people to go to different sides and make groups. I don't think that's going to work very well for us today. But it is important for this workshop that we try and get that transgenerational aspect. So we would like to match some of the younger people with some of the older people. And I'll then tell the mechanics of how the storytelling is going to happen after I've pointed that out. I'm not going to ask anybody their age. I am with some degree of tact. So all I'm going to do, based on the registration documents that we had, we put you into brackets. There was a balance. There's about as many people who claimed they were under 30 as there are people who claimed that they are over 30. If you're on that boundary and you see somebody floating around, maybe go for somebody at the other end of that bracket rather than having a 29-year-old with a 31-year-old. Kind of defeats the point. But in a moment, I'll ask you to raise your hands if you're in one bracket rather than another. And if you happen to be sitting next to somebody who then has not raised your hand, consider you now a pair. And anybody that isn't with somebody, then let me know and we'll try and get only a few people to move. Okay, so that's how this is going to go with minimal disruption. Now, the plan for the storytelling is that you'll have 10, 20 seconds to sort of say, hello, I'm so-and-so. And then what we would like you to do is one person is just going to sit quietly and listen to the first one tell a story that's come to mind for 3 minutes. I'm then going to tell everybody to swap, so you then have your moment to stop. And then the other person gets the chance for them to share something personal to them. And once we've come to the end of those 3 minutes, I'll say that's the end of this round, and we'll be able to do this twice. So I think for the first round, we'll get the younger person to tell the story first, and then for the second round, we'll get the older person to tell the story first. And you should hopefully get a chance to hear what some of the other people in the room care about in terms of ocean activities and things, and be able to maybe meet some people that will be useful for you in the future. So here comes the awkward bit. Who identifies as being under 30? Okay, are you sat next to somebody who does not identify as being under 30? Okay, hopefully you've now made a pair. Can anybody now raise their hands if they haven't got somebody next to them that's already matched? Okay, so there's not too many. Okay, well, unfortunately, can you get up out of your seats if you haven't found somebody? Come into the middle and with minimal amounts of noise and disruption, please find someone that looks either younger or older than you. I'm going to give you a countdown to make sure this happens promptly. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Have you now assorted? Don't you just go to them and see if you find somebody older? Go in, find somebody. Okay, I hope some of you are already started. For those of you that already have a partner, please make your introductions, and then can the younger person start your storytelling? I'm now going to start your timer for 3 minutes, so enjoy. Okay, everybody, If you haven't already swapped, hello? Hello. There we go. Okay, if you haven't already swapped who's telling a story, please do so you both get a chance. Go for it. Okay. Shh. Okay, I'm loving the energy. That's exciting. Everybody seems to be talking and enjoying it. But I think it's now time to swap partner, just so that we get 2 rounds of this. Now, before bedlam ensues and all anarchy breaks loose, I think all we need to do is swap with the pair that's immediately next to you. Okay? So see which pair's nearest to you, and then swap one person from each. And then you may start again. Okay? Go for it. So just... Okay then, and if you're still trying to keep in time with what I'm suggesting, if you'd like to swap who's telling the story in your pair, switch roles. Okay, then everybody, shh, 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 shh. It's like being at school. If you hear the teacher go shh, that means they'd like to be heard. Okay, great. It really pains me to stop that part. If it was up to me and we had the venue for longer, I would love to allow you all to spend an hour or something talking to each other and getting to know all the stories. Next time we'll just have a day. Just all sit in a pub or something. It'd be brilliant. Yes. However, there is one more component of today's workshop that we wanted to do, and having got to know each other, we hoped that we'd be able to get us into groups to talk about some outstanding questions we have about trying to encourage transgenerational storytelling and a bit about ocean literacy in general, trying to find some solutions. So we're going to have another PowerPoint slide that should come up briefly that will have 8 different questions that we would like each of you to think about. You don't have to think of all 8. One of them is fine. We have 8 sort of moderators, sort of discussion leads who are dotted around the room. If you could maybe put your hands up in the air if you know who you are. If you don't, then we'll figure it out and label you. And if everybody could then, we have pieces of paper that corresponds with the question on the board. If you think one of these questions sounds interesting, go over to the person with the piece of paper, and then we're going to spend the last 10 or 15 minutes talking about these in our little groups before we feed back. And I have been reliably informed we need to be out of here at 1 o'clock, so I'm sadly going to be militant about that and keep you all on to time. So can those of you with your numbers please hold them up while Emma's bringing them around to anyone who hasn't got one yet. So, I feel like I'm at an auction of some description. Is anybody interested in number sort of kind of like question 6, question 1? Come over to people, find a corner. Yeah, hold it. And be up so people can see you. There we go. So feel free to leave your seats and move over to the to the moderators. They'll start to spread themselves around in the room. Can a couple more of the numbers perhaps go to the rear of the room to make space for people to move? That would be useful, rather than everybody being at the front. The agony of choice.
Your microphone's not on, is it?
Not anymore, I don't think, no. That feels like a signal. Right. Okay. So I'm actually going to stand up my contact with them. I'm good at that's the part that's working out in the street and stuff. So I think I should Right, okay. So I saw that there were some One Ocean Hub activities around the UNOC as well. I thought that would be
and so he was in the legal department. Yeah, he's doing kind of international law of the sea.
Yeah.
And anyway, that was the first bit. I've set up a website for kind of the younger generation.
Yeah.
So ocean literacy is my big thing, and communications, and trying to get it into the younger generation.
Yeah. The sort of school kid level.
I'd like to go over to number 8.
Fantastic, perfect. I think that's Tymon doing that one there.
Talk to you about getting involved maybe with the Youth4Ocean.
Yeah, of course.
There which kind of...
So there's Youth4Ocean. They're sort of split into 3 parts. So there's Youth4Ocean Forum, which is people sort of 16 to 30 who are then being shipped about to these sorts of events and stuff. No. Then Yeah, this is very much something that started off as, we think this is a good idea, we'd like to do some of this, and then sort of trying to wriggle our way through into that. So any other resources that we can bring up with that?
I'm not seeing it. I'll find it. Okay.
Yeah, it'll probably be addressed on there or something.
And then they just, and then they have a very similar
fantastic. I mean, the thing that we're really trying to mess about with here and see if it sticks or not is that idea of trying to get the mismatch. When you've been in a situation where you get told or something, it's great, and then amazing storytellers, but you're always in that position of the authority to something else. This is adequate, but each pairing, like you've got that bit more of a direct connection. I have no idea where everyone's going, but I'm trusting the process. Some people,
I think it's really good. I also think it's exercise.
Too sure to
I don't know how you capture it.
We had one of those conversations around another storytelling workshop that happened earlier in the week with Youth4Ocean. And a few people working with me
research about how to measure the impact of things. Right. And when I went into primary school, I got friends that tell them about stuff that I did in PhD or stuff. And very, it wasn't scary, sad, it wasn't fun. And that's fine.
Thanks. Okay, everybody, you have a 5-minute warning just for that. The rest of your conversation is going to hopefully be focused on jotting down some of the ideas that you've been having or thoughts on these cards that have been brought around to your groups. So in 5 minutes' time, I'd hope to see some of these on the boards we have at the front, and then we can reconvene for a brief little conclusion before we all then, unfortunately, have to go our separate ways. Okay, great.
I come from Spain, from Imola. We don't have coast, 2 hours away. You come from river, and I think it would be important if you can help to connect the pollution in the river and something else other contributors to take care of our trash, of our residues, because it wouldn't have there. And it's very common to holidays on the beach in the Mediterranean, in the Atlantic, and you know, enjoy your summer, or we want our children, our grandchildren to enjoy them. We have to protect when we go to the river, when we wash our ears outdoors in the toilet, you know, that kind of thing. Because you know, the beach is full of there, you know, and you won't get not only the ears from Lisboa, but all around the river.
Okay, my microphone's not on. We have got several from the room on the floor. So could one representative of each group please bring up very loud and stick them on their banners at the front?
That one person from the group would speak about what we decided, so maybe let's go. We have enough men talking all around, so...
And we've got somebody who can go and start putting these on the boards.
It was very weird, so I'll try to do the best I can.
Hello? Hello, sorry, I think I didn't cut through when I shouted before. So for anyone who didn't hear, if you've written down some of your solutions from your group on the animal-shaped cards, could you please now go to the front and stick them up on the banners? As you can see, a few people already are. Just send one representative per group, please. Thank you. Okay, yeah. Okay, everybody, shh. It is that time for me to demand your attention once again. If you could please quieten down and lend me your ears, as they say. Shh. I hate to cut off good conversation, but sadly the time at the venue is now up for us, so I shall try and do a really rapid 20-second or so summary of everything and let you know what we've been doing up the front here. So each of the groups, you've written down some of your solutions to your questions, and they have now been stuck on these frescoes. We're going to make sure to take photographs of these and share these on social media, so you should be able to see the thoughts that other people who came here today have had, and hopefully all of this will contribute nicely to ocean literacy activities and global common and all these other things we've been talking about today. Obviously, everybody took away something different from the storytelling speed dating exercise earlier. I don't know what stories you heard, nor do other people in the room necessarily, but the whole idea is that if we share these amongst ourselves and we keep on talking with each other, it's going to really help us in understanding what drives us and motivates us for these ocean activities going forward. So I love the amount of enthusiasm you all brought. I think it's fantastic, the amount of speaking I've been hearing. Thank you very much to the partners that went and organised all of this for us and made sure that we got the venue. I said they're going to be part of social media stuff. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you to Willem and Ivana for hiding in the background. Anyone else I haven't thanked by name, I apologise. But you've all been massively instrumental and very useful. I hope all of the attendees have thought this journey was worth it from the Altice Arena and that they've enjoyed their morning, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.